show that more than three-fourths of rape and sexual victims know their attacker. Silence has long been predators' greatest weapon. Today, Me Too is helping to change that culture. But long before there was a Me Too, Houstonians have been blessed to have the Houston Area Women's Center. At the Houston Area Women's Center, they have been providing a safe haven for women and children affected by domestic and sexual violence for decades. Their confidential hotline has saved the lives of many. Today, I am honored to introduce an awesome woman. She serves as the Chief Marketing Officer of the Houston Area Women's Center. Her job is to tell the story of clients that serve and support the survivors of domestic and sexual violence. It's not easy to tell these stories of being that bring awareness to these issues, but she does it with grace, compassion, and true purpose. Please meet Chau, Nguyen.
Hi, can you guys hear us?
Yes, welcome.
Thank you so much, Shelley. Thank you so much for sharing your story so that their story can be part of this movement. I'm really, really grateful to be here. So honored to be with all of you in solidarity. I'm joined this morning by my children and the neighbors' children. We're being safe and socially distanced. And we have to tell you, we're in the comfort of our own home, but home hasn't always been a comfortable place. As Shelley was saying, we support survivors of domestic and sexual violence. And as you know, in the wake of the pandemic, it has not been safe for mothers and children and boys and fathers and families. We know this because we advocate at the Houston Area Women's Center. We've been supporting survivors of domestic and sexual violence since 1975. And the stats are very sobering in 2020. We had 45,000 calls to our hotline. That's 6,000 more than the year before. We've housed more women and children than ever before because we know that escaping abuse at the onset of this pandemic, during the pandemic, and ongoing was a matter of life or death. We've had our own setbacks. We had a COVID outbreak at the shelter. We deconcentrated that shelter, that 120-bed shelter, to 75 women and children. We moved them to safe houses, including up to three area hotels. We knew that had to be done. Family calls to police, violence calls are way up. Domestic violence murders, sadly, are spiking. And so when you hear this, you may feel that there's a helplessness, but I'm here to tell you, we need you. We need speakers, we need advocates to stand up and do our part to help mothers and the sisters of our community. Because domestic violence, we know, is personal, it's not private, it spills into our entire communities, schools, workplaces, the communities that we live in. This is a public health crisis, very much like COVID-19. Make no mistake, we must flatten this curve. So we ask you, with our children, with the girls that are standing beside me, my daughters, the neighbors' children, to please follow us. This is how you can join. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're always doing a whole lot going on. Look for us at HAWC.org. We also have some calls to action. You can find out who your lawmakers are by going to capitol.texas.gov and tell them we're in the legislature now to reauthorize finally VAWA, the Violence Against Women Act. You heard Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee talk about it earlier. This provides added protections for women. It holds offenders accountable. It has been held up, not being reauthorized for 2 years as of tomorrow. And I feel like a broken record speaking last year at the Women's March, talking about the reauthorization of VAWA. We've got to be doing this because it remains the largest and best known law addressing domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, and stalking. And it doesn't hurt that then Senator Biden in 1994 introduced this bill and signed it into law. So we hope to have some traction. We've got good things going on. You know, the community really stepped up their support in the wake of COVID and the ongoing and rising violence in domestic violence and family violence we were seeing. We launched a no COVID abuse campaign. We let survivors know that we're always here, that help was available. And in the wake of the pandemic, they can always call and get help. We also had a partnership with the Houston Health Department through a digital platform campaign, letting survivors know through our hotlines that were always open, the live chat was open, yet we know there is still so much more work to do, and we do it because we do it for these girls. Just as we do everything to combat the coronavirus, we need our sisters and brothers to stand with us and stop the violence against women and children. It is not something we ought to do. It is something we have to do. So I leave you, because we're doing this for her story, Ryan, Miles, Valentina, and Sydney here. I leave you with some of our favorite lines this week from the inimitable Amanda Gordon. We will not be turned around or interrupted by intimidation, because we know our inaction and inertia will be the inheritance of the next generation. Our blunders become their burdens. But one thing is certain: if we merge mercy with might and might with right, then love becomes our legacy and change our children's birthright. So let's go make some change. I'm honored to be here. We're honored to support, and we're going to have a great 2021 and 2022. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Chau.